Hi, this is a FreeSimpleGUI tips video. I make these mainly for my future self, but if you happen to stumble across them, welcome to the channel, and I hope you find something of use here. Today we're talking about generated layouts in FreeSimpleGUI using list comprehension. Learning about list comprehension in Python was a good day for me. I enjoyed learning about that, and I use it as often as I can. I think it's not used as much as a lot of people think it as you could use it, but anyhow. So we'll show you how it's useful. They're talking about it here in the brute force method. If you had to make 5 or 10 input boxes or something, then it would get pretty boring typing all this out. So we'll talk about how we're going to do that in FreeSimpleGUI. But first, I figured maybe some people might not know about list comprehension. So let's just do a little short video or a little short program for that. So it's as simple as putting your for loop inside of your list and doing something a number of times inside the list. So this one is just actually making a list called my beers, and it's making empty entries, and it's going to do 0 through 7. So it's making 8 entries in the list, and they'll all be empty with just the 2 lines of code. And we can run it, and you can see, and we're printing out my beers, and you got a list, and it's got 8 empty spots in it. Sometimes it's good, if you could always append the list or whatever, but if you know how big your list has got to be or something, then it's always good to maybe create it ahead of time, and that way you can always get the index of item in there and work with that. So in this case, we know we created an empty list with 8 of them, and we're updating the item number 4, which is the 5th item. 0 through 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is the 5th item. And one of my favorite local beers here is the Dogfish 60-minute IPA. So I figured I'll add that in there. So, and then we're going to print my beers again with our update. So it should be 2 lists printed here at the bottom. So you can see we got our empty list, and then we got the one where we has the entry in there for the one we want. So this is the basics of list comprehension. You could go through a for loop and say my beers append and all that, but this is an easy 1-line way of making an empty list or iterating through a list, not just making a list, but acting on a list as well. So that's kind of cool. So how do we use that? Back to how do we use that in FreeSimpleGUI? So we can actually generate those rows. Let's go back to here, these rows here, and we can actually generate them in a single line of code, at least the text and the thing there. So we can go back to our code, and we'll go over here to our new one. So here's our layout. We're importing FreeSimpleGUI. The second line is for our buttons, but our layout is going to have a text and an input, and we're going to make 0 through 7 of those as well, and we're going to make it on there. So let's just run this and show you what comes up. So this 1 line of code takes care of creating all 8 lines of that. So And you see we got number 0, 1. So a lot of people wouldn't want to start with 0. What can we do about that? So let's exit out here. So like I said, we can make them like we made those empty ones there, but we're also have an iterator here. So we can take our text that we want to put, and we can change it to I plus 1. I'm not sure that's going to work. We'll see. I haven't actually tried this yet. I just realized that that's going to work. What happens when we do that? We may get an error because we might have to change it into a string. Let's see what happens. No, we got it. That worked. I plus 1. So FreeSimpleGUI is smart enough to change it into to add it and change it in there. So we got our list of things 1 through 8. All right. So remember we were talking about our keys, and our keys are normally just text based, but we said we could also use a tuple. So we're using a tuple this time. So they're all going to be part of the beers because they're all in one list. This is going to identify, we might have another list called something else, and wines or something. So our list of beers is identified with, they're all going to be identified that, but we're going to take this I, which is going to be 0 through 8, just like it was here, and we're going to make it. So that's what we're doing on that line. So it's actually creating, so you've got this list here because it's called list comprehension, and you got this list here, and you're creating 8 of those lists. It would be the same as writing out 8 of these lists in a row, and it's doing that. And because it's all on, this is all happening, just we're doing the same thing to all 8 of those. We can't add this into it, or it might have, we'd have 8 of those as well. So what we do is we say our layout is equal to that, and then we can do this plus equals, and we still have to have a list of lists down here, the double brackets, and we can plus equals. So and then we can do that, and we're going to go down here, and when we have an event, we're going to print out our values again, and it'll have what the key is. So let's do that. And we're going to update, and there's our list of values. And remember, our key is beers 0, beers 1. Of course, we got all blank, so our value, our key is this, but our value, our data is blank on all of them. So let's go ahead and put something in here. We'll just go with just DOGFISH. I'm not going to put all the other, and we're going to update it again. And now you can see that was the second one. So beers 1 is now dogfish. So this is our, remember, this is our dictionary of values that we get back from our, when we do our read. So that's kind of cool. One thing you need, you say, well, we don't know what we're entering here. We don't have a header for that. So how will we do that? So we could just add another line up here and just say layout equals, and we could just say list of list, and we'll call it a sg.text, and we'll just put my beers, if I can spell. Oh, and they got to be in quotes. So okay, my beers. Okay. So we made that layout, but now we got 2 of them. So what we have to do, we can, since we started, the first one has to doesn't plus equals. So you just make this one plus equals. And now we should have a header, our 8 input boxes with our text numbers in front of it, and then the buttons next. So let's see if that worked out for us. Yeah, so now we got my beers. Of course, you could justify that as to put it in the middle, put it center it or whatever. But that's okay. Everything else is just the same, so we're okay there. But all those values are in this dictionary there, and we really don't have a whole lot of access to them. I mean, we can print them out or we can look at them, but what if we wanted to put those values in a list by itself, you know, without right now it's in a dictionary with a key and everything. What if we just wanted to make a list of them? So we got these here, we can we can go and we can make our beers, and we can do list comprehension again. And for I in range 8, we're going to take the values. Remember, we got our values here, so we got all these values, and then their key is going to be beers and then I. So we're going to iterate through 0 to 7. So that's where we're going to get it, and we're going to be able to get it into out of a dictionary and into a list called my beers. We'll run this again and we'll update it. All right, so again we got all that, and then we got our empty list. So let's put goldfish and another one around here is 16 Mile. And another one is Old Dominion. I think I spelled it right. If not, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to hit update again. And so this line is all of our dictionary that we have with all that information. But here it's broken out into a list. And like I said, a list. So we have a list that we can work with. And it's kind of pretty cool that you can do all this work on all 8 of those things at a time in one line of code. Like I say, we make them in one line of code. We can manipulate them in one line of code. We can read them in one line of code. There's sometimes you want to manipulate your list by maybe you want to read them back into here, the inputs. And so we got these values, and pretty cool, right? And you say, well, Keith, what happens when you close the program? All that's going to disappear. So you're right about that. So stay tuned for, or look for the tips video on user settings where we can save them to a JSON file. That should be coming up soon if it's not already on the list when you're on the tips videos when you're looking at them. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Have a good day.